Saratov Airlines passenger plane that took off earlier this afternoon from Domodedovo Airport, one of Moscow's three main airports, very busy airport too. It was an internal flight. And we believe it crashed around about 50 to 60 kilometers southeast of Moscow. We think it only got to about 6,400 feet. That's a similar type of plane, an Antonov, you're seeing on your screens there, 148. Jerry, an Antonov 148. Now, Russian planes, until about a decade ago, were problematic. Thinking about the Tupolev 154s, the Tupolev 134s, they've largely been phased out now. Certainly don't see many of them in Europe. There aren't many Russian carriers using them now. For one, as well as being a bit unreliable towards the end, they burned a lot of fuel. So most of the Russian companies now, the internal companies, they use Airbus, they use Boeings, they use Embraers. This one's slightly different. Is it a Russian plane or a Ukrainian plane, an AN-148?
It's both. It was up until a few years ago. It was produced both in the Ukraine and also in Russia, in I think Voronezh. So they've only stopped producing. I think it was last year. There's about 50 in service. Most of them are in Russia.
But a pretty modern plane. It's a new design, yeah.
It is. It is a new design. It's, Antonov claims it's equivalent in terms of on how modern it is to the Western counterparts. It is fly-by-wire aircraft, just like the Airbuses. But again, this is also one of the types that was that Russia and the Ukraine hoped on to gain commercial success in the post-Soviet era. This is what we call the second generation post-Soviet aircraft.
And doing a quick wiki search on it, ironic that last year was branded the safest year to fly, wasn't it, 2017? I think this is, as far as I know, one of the first plane crashes, we believe, so far this year. Sadly, it's happened here in Russia, and it does look like all 65 passengers and crew have perished, but we've yet to confirm that, so we've got a crew heading there now. What do we know about this company, Saratov Airlines? They were part of Aeroflot at one stage. They've been going for a long while, since 1931. There was a bit of a security, a safety concern about them about a year or so ago, but it seems that was overcome, yeah?
Yeah. Again, this is one of those, what we outside would call one of the small Russian airlines. But as past 2010, we would say that survivors would have had to evolve to live on. And if this was like 10 years ago, we can almost brand it as one of those questionable operations. But we are now in the post-consolidation era of the Soviet airline, sort of the Russian airline industry. So, interestingly enough, all of their aircraft, except for the one, most of the aircraft have been the Russian aircraft. They do operate about 5 Yakolev 42s, but they're beginning to introduce the Embraer 195. Now that is a Western, that is a Brazilian aircraft. Yeah. Now, interestingly, also the Antonov 148s that Saratov operates, I think it's the ones that Russia Airlines used to operate. So I think Russia Airlines stopped operating that, and they transferred it to another taker, which in this case was
looking at the history of this plane, while you're talking, I'm doing a quick wiki check on that and elsewhere. It looks like there was an accident in its development around about 2011, but it looks like there've been no other fatal accidents of that plane over the years since then, over the last decade or so, since it was brought in around about 2004. That plane first took to the skies testing. Jerry, we're going to leave it for now. Jerry Soyatman, independent aviation consultant, thanks again for coming on short notice and telling us what you know about this plane, indeed this airline as well. If you just joined us, this is RT International. My name's Kevin Owen. There's one story starting to dominate our coverage now this hour. A plane with 71 passengers and crew on board has crashed shortly after it took off from Moscow's international Domodedovo airport. It's an Antonov, as we just heard, 148 airplane, operated by a company called Saratov Airlines. At the time, it took off around about 2 o'clock this afternoon local time. It was heading to Orsk, that's a city close to the Russian border with Kazakhstan, basically heading southeast from Moscow. Eyewitnesses reportedly say they saw that plane on fire before it went down. There were reportedly 65 passengers and 6 crew on board. If you're concerned about friends, family, loved ones, passengers or crew there, we believe the flight number is 6W703. Once again, that flight number of the plane involved here is 6W703, a Saratov Airlines internal flight today from Moscow to southeast Russia. Emergency teams have reached the crash site now. It's about 50-60 kilometers from Moscow, but bad weather here at the moment. There's been heavy snow over the last week or so. They are reporting bodies on the ground at the moment. One eyewitness is, according to one news agency, Interfax, saying that there is little hope for any of the crew and the passengers there. We are yet to corroborate that. We're sending our senior correspondent, Murat Gaziev, there now. He's on his way. It's going to take a while because the weather is pretty bad, and as you just heard, you can't totally get there by car. Some of that journey has to be on foot. But we've got crews going there now. We're, of course, going to be the prime channel to bring you up to date on the latest here. A very unfortunate story on our patch. The area is near a village 60 kilometers south of Moscow, as I say. Still no word on what may have caused that plane to come down. It was in the initial climb. Tracking seems to suggest it was about 6,400 feet up into the air, but it'd be going up to, of course, usual climbing altitudes between 30 and 40,000 feet for that kind of plane. Investigators say all versions still of what's gone so badly wrong here are being considered at this point. Elsewhere in the week just gone, South Korea welcomed the world to the Winter Olympics on Friday. The grand opening ceremony was held in the host city, Pyeongchang. Nearly 3,000 athletes from 92 countries took part in the event. But before those celebrations in the Olympic arena, there were demonstrations and fighting outside the venue. People supporting peace between North and South Korea had gathered for one rally, while another group protesting North Korea's participation in the Games clashed physically with the police for a while.